Good morning. This is Norma Cowie once more, joining you with Norma Talks. Every week I can wonder, what am I going to say today? Should I revisit something we've visited before, or just something that comes up during the week? And that's what's happened this week. I have been doing quite a lot of energy transformation work in the last month or 6 weeks in particular. And one of the things I really notice consistently, and even though I know this is a fact, it's one of those things we kind of take for granted. Now, I'm just going to give a little bit of a recap of my awareness of this planet. One of the things I came to discover was that this planet is an emotional planet. Many of the planets that I visited as I was doing soul journeying, finding how people's souls, where they'd come from and what they'd encountered, were more of a beingness or a mental planet. Dimensions are a little different. They're more just a sense of them. But in the planets, very often, they're ruled very much with mental activity. But so then you come here to Earth. Now, how we arrive here at Earth often too is very, very different. Some people choose to be here. Some people, in fact, I just had a client that was like that. She was very, very excited about being here, but her expectation of what to expect was really high because she had never encountered emotionality. And one of the things that we needed to work on was her realization of how the emotions worked. But and that's not uncommon. Some people arrive here because they're sent here because it's just like we used to send people from Britain to Australia and the US because they didn't have room for them in the jail, so they pushed them off. So some people are sent here because they're rebels in their own land and things like that. Some people have crashed here from in their spaceships. Either their spaceship had landed, then it wouldn't take off again, or they crashed. In fact, one of the first times that ever came up was in a past life regression I did many, many years ago. And this person came out of the regression looking absolutely stunned. And the first thing he said was, I was way in the future and I crashed and I had to assimilate here. And so there's many ways in which we can actually come into Earth vibration. And then what happens is, how do we learn to deal with emotion? How do we deal with the feelings? So I'm going to break feelings and emotion down a little bit because we'll talk about emotions, which is true, but really they're feelings. Now, the other element that I think is that the feelings is how the body talks to us. The body tells us how it feels about things. And theoretically, from my perspective, feelings need to flow like a river. I just recently had a client and it was like a river going down Boulder Lane. Like there was no flow, and we kind of ended up getting a flow. Emotion to me are where we block, and so it becomes bigger than. It's not just a flow of the feelings. It's these blocks, and then the blocks, of course, is what I work on clearing for people. But it's to have that feeling moving. First of all, becoming aware what is coming up, being delivered from the body, what the body is saying, so we can name it. So usually I say, name it. If you can't name it, this is how I learned. Put it in a color, put it in a shape, get a sense of it, and then eventually you can begin to name it. Excuse me. And I remember when I first began, sometimes I'd say, I'm having this feeling, I have no idea what it is. But just by even acknowledging it, it would subside. And so as time went on, I became more and more and more aware of what I feel and sometimes where I felt it. So when I'm working with people, you'll see my hand go across, I'm looking for a smoothness. And if it's bumpy or if it's a lot of emotionality that needs to be shifted and changed and released and let go, because usually if we have guilt, if we have regret, if we have a strong emotion we don't know what to do with, people pack them in different ways. Some people pack them into their body. Some people kind of store them in the back closet. And so what happens over time, in fact, I recently had a client that I was doing a tarot card reading for her actually. And I said, oh my goodness, you're so full of emotion. There's no way anything is moving. So she is now working on clearing all this other old stuff that's been stored. The wonderful thing, which always surprises me, she said, "You're quite correct. Yes. How do I get clear of this?" And I said, "Okay, you're at the right place. We can clear that for you." But there's another component. So we understand feelings. We understand emotion. Emotion are blocked feelings. Now, there's another very important part, and that's the mental element. One of the things I strive for with my clientele is to have a balance between the feelings and the mental. Now, our society supports the mental element a lot and doesn't have a lot of room for feelings overly. If you're an over-feeling person, it's almost an empathy or sympathy for you, like, oh. Now, if you're an empath like I was, and still am to some degree, you take other people's feelings on. So you need to learn how to handle and deal with that for sure. But let's have a look at how we balance the mental. Now, in the mental element, I'm gonna kind of stop and pull away for a moment. Years ago, when they first brought out computers, and I happened to be one of the first in my whole place, which I used in my business, a computer, and I went, oh my goodness, they've created the subconscious mind. And which is basically, we put things in the subconscious mind, and then computers, we put in the instruction, and then the computer spits out what we have asked for. Of course, it's much more involved now, but it's still basically the same thing. We key in something and it does whatever the job is. What do you think the subconscious does? The subconscious takes what we say, especially mental words. What if you're a very critical person on yourself? What if your inner dialogue here, which is constantly being brought up by your programming, yes, that's in your subconscious, but they're coming through as thoughts, maybe putting yourself down, not believing in yourself, always never being perfect. All of these things, by the way, often those come from other lives. So it's your programming that's in there. And so because the society wants us to be very mental, having an understanding, and that also comes into the intellectual element too. And the more I have studied how the intellect works, the more I find it's like a box. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. And then every now and again, we can break those boxes down and we can find the avenue of how to discover different things. But it doesn't fit necessarily a formula. It's being able to see beyond, be able to utilize your mind and putting and linking things together, not boxing it, not having a set element of how it's supposed to be. So the mental likes to be in control. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is what I tell my clients and students, is this. The mental is not creative on its own. It only repeats whatever has been put into it. And that's why it's so much like a computer, because it's not creative. But if we can balance the emotional side of us, the feeling side of us, and the mental side of us, and they have an equal say in relation to you and your life, the creativity that you have has a chance to express itself. Now, interesting thing, I had begun to put this concept together, as I do most of mine. They kind of come to me one way or another. And then I usually read about it or hear about it from somewhere else. And I had already thought that this was a kind of fact, and about how we needed that mental and emotional together. And then I was rereading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And right near the back of the book, there's one little sentence. It says, when the mind and the feeling or emotion, I'm not sure exactly how he put it, but it means the same thing, are balanced and aligned, you can be creative. And that's what we want. We want to be able to express. Creative to me means self-expression. How are we expressing ourselves? So the real key here is to be able to have a balance between the feeling level and the mental level. And that so the mental level isn't just regurgitating what it's known, the same old programming over and over again. And if you do the work, and I do have people come in, I'll go, oh, you've done a lot of work already. And they'll say, yes, well, I have. So it's like having that clearing that comes out so that you have a bigger expanse and an awareness of more. You become more. You can self-express yourself. You let go of self-criticism. You let go of worrying what other people think or say about you, because you recognize that this is who you are. Now, I'm leaving out, but I'm going to talk about that now, because a part of it all this is being aware that you're part of a bigger energy field. Whether you call it God, Jesus, Mary, Buddha, Muhammad, I don't care. But I know there is a loving force that's in this universe. I created a name for it for myself because when I felt it, it felt like just this energy. And so to me, it's a divine essence. That's my name for it. But I call it many names too as well. And it's like knowing that it is there, that it has your back. It has the exit, brings you to things. You know, the miracles that happen in your life, because they do, if you are open to notice them. If you're open even to ask what it is you need. I find most people don't know how to ask. They don't know this, even know this force is there. And if they do, they don't know quite how to utilize it. It's like pleading, you know, I think I was taught very early, you know, please may I have. And it was like, that's not how, that doesn't work. You're not some little victim down here pleading away. It's you need to claim your power. And how you claim your power is by being connected in your feelings and in your mind together with no one part of that more than. And that is one of the big secrets of achieving, creating, and being more of who you are, more of what your expectations are. Being able to move beyond the expectations in all ways. So there is only light and love and awareness of beauty, awareness of life, awareness of the miracles that happen around you, to you, and for you. So just let's go back to the basics. What are you feeling? If you can name it, great. What are you thinking? Are you thinking thoughts that support your goals, that support you, or do you disbelieve? So often people don't realize how they disbelieve, and they have no idea of how that subconscious really works, because it is always in action. Because we don't know all the little bitsy pieces and places until we go in there and find them and transform them. Because that gives us our creative ability to do that, to become more clear about what we want. I recently had something I didn't think was going to happen. I'd had a no on something I wanted, and I was told, no, that's not going to work. So I just let it go. Well, okay, I'll adjust and do something. And the next thing I know, I have a phone call saying, hey, we can do this. And it was like, wow, okay, then I have to readjust my plans again because now things have opened. But that's how it works. It's not about we agitate it. It's that I want this, and I felt that I knew what I was wanting, asked for it. Nope, wasn't going to happen. And then it did, or it will. It's something that's going to take place in July. So what I want you to do is to think about, what are you really thinking? What do those thoughts create on the feeling level? Because if you haven't got that mental, emotional balance within you, what'll happen is that life won't be as smooth. We want it to be as smooth as we can. We want to create what we want with ease. We want to be happy. We want to have joy. We want to enjoy the people around us. And there's lots of other bits and pieces that we can work on for sure. But I'm going to leave you with that thought so that you can really say, some people come in, I'm just so over emotional, I just react to everything. Well, then things aren't in balance, because there's no need to be over emotional. It's about awareness of what your body is telling you. It's to allow yourself to have emotion. Yes. If you cry, you cry. If you laugh, you laugh. All of those things represent the sense of who you are. But when you align it with your mind and you're working with what's in that subconscious of yours, then what you will find, you'll start manifesting flowers instead of stones. It's like life becomes so much victoriously beautiful. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for subscribing, for the likes, for the comments. It's very, very appreciated from my point. And remember, you can always contact me through my website, normacowie.com. I really wish you a great day. And yeah, have a good one. Lots of love. Bye.